Welcome into Rover Sports, guys, and we are live with one of my favorite guys on YouTube, also a great friend in real life. His name is Jetscentral, and Central, thanks so much for coming on the show, man.
Spencer, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well, doing really well. I know Sunday I was just so pumped up to have free agency. Like Sunday afternoon from about like 5 o'clock to midnight, I was just so entertained by the free agency world, and it was just like maybe the most fun day that I've had in like maybe months.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I was the same way. Like, you go and you pick up some food from like one of your favorite places, then you just like pop a squat on the couch and just sit there for 5 or 6 hours, just like refreshing Twitter and having on, Wojnarowski on the television, just waiting for him to drop bombs. It's just a crazy time.
Yeah, now I wanted to ask you about like how you consumed the entire day. I wanted to ask you like, were you refreshing, like were you on Twitter like refreshing Woj? Like, do you read like all the comments below like each tweet? Like sometimes you'll see like troll accounts like that Dodge Ram owner or like Barry McCockiner, or like, do you read like all the different like funny comments? Are you on Twitter, your phone the whole time, or are you kind of like watching the TV?
I kind of have a mixture of both. I use the phone for like the breaking news, and then once the breaking news happens, then I'll resort to the TV just because like I want to hear somebody talk about it. But basically, how I go through it on Twitter is instead of kind of just refreshing Twitter, I'll just search a guy's name. Like I'll type in Kevin Durant, and I'll just search all the latest, and I'll keep refreshing that.
Right. So you are a big you're a Brooklyn Nets guy. You've been a Nets fan now. Tell me about your Nets fandom again, and tell me like the first year where you really cared deeply about kind of the Brooklyn Nets.
Well, I never really cared that deeply for the New Jersey Nets, but it wasn't until they moved over to Brooklyn because I always liked the NBA as a product. I always would have my favorite players. My friends would have their favorite players. We'd go back and forth. Everybody growing up like Kobe Bryant, LeBron, Shaq. My favorite guy was Carmelo Anthony along with Allen Iverson, and they played for Denver. So I always would keep tabs on them for a little bit. But then once the Nets moved to Brooklyn, I was like, you know what? I want to follow this team. And then, of course, they made the trade for Paul Pierce and Garnett, and everybody makes fun of that trade. But, they actually did have some success with Paul Pierce and Joe Johnson and Darren Williams. I mean, they didn't win a championship, but they did make it to the playoffs. And, they got a few playoffs. They advanced in the playoffs a few years. But, yeah, really ever since they moved to Brooklyn, I've kind of been following them. Now, like, I'll be the first to admit it. Football is just by far the better product, in my opinion. I love me some New York Jets, but I still like the Nets. I won't go as far as to say I love the Nets, but I like the Nets.
Yeah, and we're going to get into some of the free agency news. Again, we have Jet Central here on the show. He's kind enough to join us. The one thing that I get frustrated about the NBA is like I like the Utah Jazz growing up, like Darren Williams. I think everybody when they're young, they pick like a West Coast team and they like vibe with a team that's like outside of their own base. And it's just kind of frustrating how like in the Eastern Conference, you can watch like a Detroit Pistons and every single year they go to the playoffs, and it was kind of like your Brooklyn Nets this year. Like you guys were in the playoffs, but like game 3, you just got slaughtered. Like 2 consecutive games, you just lost by like 20 points, and nobody was outraged. Nobody was shocked. Like the Portland Trailblazers go and they beat Denver in a game 7. They have an unbelievable playoffs. They beat Oklahoma City and then Portland, and then they go against Golden State, and they have nothing left, and it's so predictable they'll never like win the championship. That's what kind of frustrates me is how in these playoffs these upper seeds just truly have zero chance, and I wish the NBA would like fix that. I wish that it was more like the NFL in that regard.
Yeah, that there was more parity in the NBA.
Yeah, that there was more parity.
Yeah, I see what you're saying for sure. And it's definitely frustrating. But I think like as the years go by, or will continue to go by, that NBA will kind of, I think the league as a whole will kind of get back to how it used to be. Because, I mean, you see all these different, especially with Kawhi Leonard possibly being on the move, Kevin Durant being on the move, Klay Thompson being out, LeBron's kind of declining in his career. I mean, you're going to have teams like Milwaukee and New Orleans possibly just kind of rise from the ashes, and, all of a sudden these teams could be like the next dynasties.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you now, like, who are your favorite young teams that you think are building in a really attractive way, like some under-the-radar teams that you just can't wait to follow?
Well, of course, the Pelicans. I mean, I know it sounds cliche, but, the guys like Lonzo Ball, Ingram, Hart, of course, Zion Williamson, and then they signed some other pieces as well. But as far as the young core goes, I mean, New Orleans has to be virtually number one on everybody's list. And I know they missed out on Kevin Durant and Irving and all these different guys, but I still like the Knicks core. R.J. Barrett and Mitchell Robinson, Kevin Knox, like they have some like nice young players on that Knicks team, which I'm really excited for as well. So I'd probably say the Pelicans and the Knicks as of right now.
Yeah, and like I think that the Knicks are kind of more like I think they're kind of likable right now that they even like missed out on some of these prospects, and it's maybe just the Knicks fans like being so prevalent on Twitter, like maybe feeling so sorry for themselves like at all times, and maybe it's just that the Knicks. I mean, being a Brooklyn Nets fan, it just feels like the Knicks fans are just kind of entitled for no reason, and now like them not getting these guys, maybe they could just start being like a more modest fan base. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the Knicks fans really do. I don't want to say entitled because they're not entitled, but I feel like they think that they deserve a star. But stars from the outside looking in, they don't view the Knicks as like some great franchise. They just look at it like, okay, this is just another franchise in the league with a weird owner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not looking at it.
If I had to give you a team, and I'm going to give you a team that you would like to buy a stock in, would it be the Atlanta Hawks? Would it be the Memphis Grizzlies? Would it be the Dallas Mavericks? Talk about those three teams specifically.
I love the Hawks. The Hawks are going in the right direction. I feel like, I know I touched on New Orleans. I feel like New Orleans can make a push for that 8th or 7th seed this year. I don't think Atlanta's there quite yet. I think they could maybe be in the mix for the 8th seed, kind of like how the Kings were this past season. Have a really solid year, but not really too focused on winning, just kind of developing and trying to create a culture. But, I mean, the Hawks, man, they got so many players in Herter and Young. I mean, you could go down the list, and, they just added the new, the 2 new rookies, too. Mm-hmm. Hunter and my guy Cam Reddish. So, Atlanta's going to be a fun team. I cannot wait to watch them. Dallas, I'm actually surprised that they didn't get any big-name free agents. Now, I know, of course, they signed KP, Porzingis, that is, but I thought they were going to be in the mix for, one of these guys, one of the bigger-name guys, whether it was, a Kemba Walker. I mean, of course, they could still sign, maybe a DeMarcus Cousins or something like that, but I really thought I really felt like they were going to get, one of the bigger-name guys.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk with you about the specific free agents that, because with free agency, everybody's going to mostly be confident. And it's a time when, everybody mostly celebrates the signings. They congratulate the players. They congratulate the actual team. And I wanted to talk about a couple of situations that might be negative signings, where you look at a team and their players, where they actually signed players, but you're not as high on them as other people. And who are those teams to you that you think are overrated, unnecessary signings, overrated teams right now? Who are those teams?
I mean, the first team that comes to mind, and I'm not saying, I know this is your show, I know this is your team, but Philly, I felt like Philly invested a ton of money into a team, with signing Horford to a $100+ million deal, to Tobias Harris $150+ million deal. Now I'm hearing Ben Simmons is going to get 150 plus. That's a lot of money for a team, right? And again, Philly, they were literally one shot away from beating the defending champs. So you never know how they could have fared against Milwaukee or even Golden State in the finals. So they are a good team, but they did lose Jimmy Butler. You know, now you have Richardson coming over to the mix. I'm just not sure. I'm not sold on Philadelphia as of right now.
Yeah, I happen to agree. I happen to actually agree with you. And it's so funny because in this town, when Al Horford, got signed, the Sixers and their fan base changed from, when Tobias signed the deal, everybody was worried about Jimmy Butler. They were thinking that Elton Brand was doing a terrible job. They signed Al Horford. Now all the fans are pumped. All my friends, Jetscentral, are pumped about the Sixers, and I'm really not certain because Al Horford, he walks like a crab. He kind of like lumbers around a little bit, like he's kind of tiptoeing around. He's just old. He's 33. He's one of the nicest guys. He's a proven winner. We all know that. But you're going to be paying him $28 million when he's going to be 37 years old. I agree with you about Al Horford. Ben Simmons, I actually love that signing. Tobias Harris, I don't mind that signing. I think Richardson, it could really be a problem because even though he was good in Miami, he could hold up a basketball team. And then Al Horford, and Embiid, you still have no shooters. I just think the Sixers, that team, I don't think that they're even going to make the finals. I think that they're going to run into a lot of problems. I think that Al Horford could kind of be like a Ryan Howard contract.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I will say in your defense or in the defense of the Sixers fans and Horford, he's going to be great for the young guys in the locker room. Hopefully he could take Embiid and Simmons under his wing mentally and just kind of help them along the way as far as maturity goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you this, though, Spencer. Who were your three biggest winners of the free agency period? Who are not players, but teams? Who are the top three teams that you thought did the best?
I really love what Indiana is building. I think that Indiana, and that's going to be a team that's kind of going to be one of my favorite teams to watch in the whole league, on League Pass, because I love versatile wings that can score. And I've always loved Jeremy Lamb's game. He's a little bit like Tobias in that he's smooth. He's 6'6". When he shoots a shot, the basket won't even move. He'll hit net. And Jeremy Lamb, I think that he is just on the upside of his career. So I just absolutely love that signing. T.J. Warren, I can't wait for him to get on a team and drop buckets. And then you have Malcolm Brogdon. I just think that pairing of Victor and Malcolm is going to be so damn good. And Bogdanovich, I know that he's a fan favorite for just for NBA Twitter and for the guys out there. Everybody thinks Utah is going to be just ridiculous with Brogdon, but I just thought he was horrible on defense. I just thought he was overrated, he couldn't really dribble at all. So I'm going to go Indiana as my big winner. And then if I had to go another team, the other team, let me try to think. It's a little bit tough, but I love New Orleans signing JJ, a veteran, but I'd go Indiana as my big winner.
Yeah, I love what Indiana's doing. Plus, I love their draft pick, too. Goga, the center, the foreign center, he's going to be a really solid player. Nobody really knows that much about him. But when you watch, his highlights on YouTube and, you just kind of search up this guy, he's a confident player. He's going to rep Indiana hard, and he's not going to be afraid of anybody. Kind of like how David West was. But he's a rim-running center, so Indiana's fun. Let me ask you this.
I wanted to add on the Boston Celtics, too. I want to buy stock in them because I think Kemba and getting Enes Kanter, I love what Boston did.
See, I actually disagree. I thought Boston was one of the biggest losers of the free agency of the offseason.
And why?
Because they lose Kyrie Irving, and yes, he was a locker room cancer. And you lose Al Horford, you lose Terry Rozier. There's no guarantee that Morris is going to be coming back either. I look at this team right now, and I feel like Boston, they're going to have a little bit more more of a calm locker room, but I feel like that's not going to translate into an NBA championship or even an Eastern Conference title. I just look at it like they got worse at forward, they got worse as far as depth goes, they got a little bit worse at point guard, and they got worse at center. And they're virtually spending the same amount of money that they were.
I actually think that Boston now, like last year, though, they lost in the second round in 5 games. So even if they make the conference finals, that's still an improvement.
Agreed.
So I actually think that they are going to make the finals. That's how good I think Kemba's going to be. Like, I think Tatum's going to take that next step. Like, I look at Canner, Grant Williams. Now Jalen can finally start with Tatum. Now Hayward can finally start. Like, they're going to be really hard to guard. They have Carson Edwards. They have all these Romeo Langford. They're just going to be so hard to guard. Like, I just can't wait to see the team play.
Right, yeah, you do make a good point about Langford and whatnot. Here's a team, too, that I want to throw out there that I thought did really, really well as well, was the Miami Heat. You know, with drafting a guy like Tyler Hero, with signing Jimmy Butler, with getting rid of Whiteside's contract. I thought the Heat just played just a flawless game in the offseason. Or, you know, we're kind of in a, between a rock and a hard place, but I felt like with the moves available to them, they made the best out of it, and it's just a perfect offseason for the Heat.
I love Tyler Hero as well. Like they do need kind of that point guard. And like Miami, they just were just really stuck because they were in purgatory. They had all this money on the books and they didn't they couldn't get past that certain level. Like there was no upside, with Justice Winslow, with, bringing Dwayne Wade back. But my concern is, like, do they now have money, with Whiteside out? Could they get, like, another star in here to make, like, Jimmy's stay worthwhile, though? Like, can they even make the playoffs now?
Yeah, I feel like only time will tell on that, like who's going to be disgruntled at the, at the trade deadline and stuff like that. That's where I feel like Miami's going to have to strike. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll tell you a team that I thought, like, actually was the biggest loser. And this is a team that I felt like had a lot of money to spend, like has a great young nucleus, and we talk about this team all the time. I just think that the Sacramento Kings were unnecessary with their money. I just thought that the Harrison Barnes, the Deadmans, I really strongly disliked what the Kings did with their available space.
Yeah, they're kind of average to me. I wouldn't say that they did well, but I wouldn't say that they didn't hurt their team. I still I feel like at the end of the day, the Kings did get better as a team. I feel like with Barnes kind of playing, solidifying him as like the number one option as far as the offensive side of the basketball goes, playing him all season I think will benefit them. I think he adds so much versatility on the defensive side. I mean, really, too, like De'Aaron Fox, he's one of the best defensive point guards in the league. Now you get Barnes in the building, another one of the best defenders in the league. I mean, and yes, Barnes was on the team last year, but now he has the full, he's going to be in that with the Kings for the full offseason program and whatnot. He's going to be a King moving forward. I don't hate what they did.
Yeah, I mean, I am so excited for the season. I'm excited about the Redick contract. I mean, Memphis getting a lot of young assets and kind of, building their team. I think a lot of teams are getting wise with their money. And I'm again, this free agency period, I think that, obviously Brooklyn is going to be fascinating with Kyrie, Kevin coming into the mix. You're going to get like maybe a lot of bandwagon fans coming aboard Jet Central. But this is a really good time for Brooklyn basketball.
Yeah, it should be fun. But here, one last question before I let you go.
Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of a two-pronged question. When does Kawhi Leonard sign, and who does Kawhi Leonard sign with?
I actually think that Kawhi Leonard, there were reports like on Lakers Reddit yesterday that he's going to sign with the LA Lakers. It would be so funny if I'm wrong, but I believe he's going to sign with the Clippers, actually, that Doc and Lawrence Frank, that the league is going to be saved. I'm going to say Friday afternoon he signs with the LA Clippers.
Okay. I'm gonna say either late tonight, like around midnight, he's gonna sign with the Raptors.
Wow, he's coming back on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I'm gonna say a 2-year deal, kind of like you. I think he's gonna do what Kevin Durant did with Golden State, like a 2-year deal with like a player option after one.
Alrighty, I like that. Hey, Jet Central, thanks so much for coming on the show. Love talking basketball with you. Obviously, football season's coming up, man, and thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, man, we got to do it again sometime.